water tested, and we'll go from there. My next item is Ambit Energy. I'd like to have the town sign up for that. There would be a savings on our electric bills. We could save as much as $600 more a month on our electric bills, utilizing all our accounts we have with National Grid. I'd like to sign up for that. If I could have a motion on that.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Who's the consultant that contacted you?
It was Sharon Cullen, because she did the village, and she said that we signed up the village on it, and she
The municipal village or a village resident?
The village of Alex Bay.
Anybody else on this board or a consultant with Ambit Energy?
On this board here?
Yes.
About?
No, anybody else? A consultant, a representative for Ambit?
Oh, no. None of us are, right?
No.
None of you are? And are you going to get other bids?
Kind of what?
Are you going to get further bids just besides, there's other providers other than Ambit?
Right, and I've looked into it, and Ambit's one of the best ones out there. They come highly recommended.
Have you ever done a Google search on Ambit?
I went to one of their meetings. I haven't done a Google search.
You should Google search it and see the hits.
Okay.
Dale, does that affect with our solar system?
No, will not affect our
But
solar system.
they're still getting electricity through National Grid. It's just
Check it out. All right, I'll check on it and report back to you next month on it.
Yep.
Any other public concern?
I got one. More of a question for Attorney Gibo. That is correct, Gibo or Gibo?
If you call me Mark, it'll be a lot easier.
Okay, Mark. After the, and I'm not here to pile on. I think it's a great thing that you are addressing some of the issues that have plagued the village for 5.5 years, according to the Comptroller's office. And I haven't seen your corrective action plan, but I'm sure it's in compliance with what you sent them originally, the things you were going to do as a village and as a mayor's office. Concern I have is under the conflict of interest, and Mark, you did say that a lot of that is a murky area, and the state's trying to rectify it and clarify it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. Under the comptroller's definition, says you may have heard of the conflict of interest. The phrase can apply to a variety of situations. All have one thing in common: an individual with divided loyalties, such as when a person has to act on behalf of the public in connection with a matter that affects his or her personal interest. Not all conflicts of interest are prohibited. When it defines conflict of interest, it gives 4 criteria that they must be met. One of them being an exception. It can't meet an exception. The piece that I'm concerned with is particularly this Ambit situation. And I'm not knocking the company, I'm not knocking any of how it works, but the way I understand, the people that are representatives are also stockholders or shareholders or owners of the company. And I believe the board did not decide to switch to Ambit, our clerk treasurer did. And that leads in direct conflict of interest of someone who's handling accounts, payables, receivables, and are supposed to be overseeing it. So my question to you would be, if it is a conflict of interest, I'm not saying it is, would it make that agreement with Ambit null and void since it didn't follow the correct procedures? And did they or did they not?
Well, I'm sure I don't even know who Ambit is. So
Ambit's the electric provider for the village.
Okay. I guess I'd have to know more about it. First
I'm hitting you cold then.
You're hitting me cold.
I apologize.
And the question, I guess, of whether or not it might void the agreement comes down to a few things in terms of who's authorized to enter into the agreement. Was it approved by the board? Wasn't it? I mean, you know, there's questions I just don't know. Right. You may know, but I don't.
And I don't want to hit you cold with
it. And it would have to be looked at. And then we have to say, what is the remedy if it was a conflict? Is it you penalize Ambit or do you penalize somebody else? And that would have to be looked at.
And
And
if
it's really unfortunate, but the rules on these things are really, murky, as you said. You know, everybody would love to have clear guidelines when it comes to conflicts, and it just doesn't.
They were very clear, though, about the people that are responsible for taking on the records, paying out the bills, that part of it, and not having ownership or involvement in it. And I believe this person would be the actual beneficiary of the account that the village was using, that she authorized, and I don't believe that follows the rules, and I think it warrants investigation by the town, the village, and the attorney.
If the village board wants me to look into it, I will, but so far, you're the first time hearing it.
Okay.
I've been approached many, many times by Jim Costello about Ambit. I mean, if one more person dies and I go in the door and he asks me, you know, it's like, well, people quit dying because he's real big in it. But as a taxpayer, isn't this Ambit saving me money? Why would I want to take any savings to hire a lawyer, I mean, it's done, I mean, stay with them for whatever it is, a year or whatever you signed up for.
Well,
And if they're not saving us a lot more money than National Grid, which by the way, I've never gone to Ambit, it's not gonna save me, just what little bit I use, a big amount of money, so I've never gone to them.
My problem.
But as a municipality with all the, I mean, look, we're sitting here and the lights are on in there, who's in there? That's a waste of money right there. You know, if it's saving us money, we've gotta save money wherever we can these days.
Right.
We can't just keep doling it out.
I absolutely agree. I think that the Ambit thing has come into question a few times. I know it was recently at another, at the town board. So we have actually kind of started looking into the Ambit thing already.
They even use sales kids at school who have asked my kids to ask me.
Right,
Yeah.
and
You know, they're everywhere.
but see, and that marketing piece is part of the problem, because since the whole customer base is now part of the company, and they're getting revenues from the people underneath them. I know people knock it, say it's a Ponzi scheme. I'm not saying that. It's a energy buying block, but because the way they market it and they don't advertise, they give everybody a little piece. If the person who decides whether or not we're gonna sign up is actually getting a little piece, there's a problem there.
But if they're saving us money, if, let's say, for Valentine's Day, you decided to have a party and Critter says, well, I'll bring up pizza and wings, and all of a sudden you get a bill, well, guess what? He just made money off of that pizza and wings, that's a conflict.
Right.
I mean,
I don't disagree.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I understand what Mr. Irk is saying as well, that he's asking us to look into it, and we will absolutely do that, just to make sure that we're covered.
Now, the question
I don't
is,
disagree. I'm an Ambit customer. I'm not a part of the company. I'm not, they are my supplier, and I think that they do save me money. But it's not a conflict of interest for me. I understand what he's saying, and we'll look into it.
And I do know there's a lot of, unfortunately, this is a small village, there's a lot of them that are selling it, and just because somebody approaches, I mean, Jim isn't gonna take the money he makes off of me, he's gonna give it to somebody else. But actually, he might have sold it to me. That doesn't mean he got the money. Just putting that out there.